Everyone, Morgan Knudsen here. Welcome to this episode's edition of Spiritual Healthcare for our episode about Lep Castle. We're on episode 4, and this was such a cool episode for me because this was a bucket list case for myself. And I remember when I was a kid watching a show on TV called Castle Ghosts of Ireland. Many of you guys will probably remember that as well. It had Robert Hardy, the wonderful Robert Hardy, hosting, and they did Castle Ghosts of England, Ireland, and Scotland. But the Ireland episode always stood out to me because of one certain castle, which was Lep Castle. I'd never heard of a story so involved in regards to the types of hauntings that seem to mill about in this incredible place and the horrors that went on within this castle. Now, to get into all of that, go download our episode. This is the second season of Supernatural Circumstances, episode 4, and give it a listen. So go do that. Go hit the subscribe button. Go do that, and then come back here. You back? Perfect. Okay, now that you're caught up, the horrors that were going on at Lep Castle at the time, including the nightmare of a torture chamber called the Oubliette. So here we had this strange haunting of what Mildred Darby at the time called an elemental, which we now know it was likely some kind of negative entity that had manifested because of the trauma and the stuff that had gone on, probably some sort of thought form or something like that. But it fascinated me. And what fascinated me even more was the ability of the current family that lives there, the Ryans, to be able to take such extreme circumstances and turn it around so well and so efficiently that they were able to move and raise their family in Lep Castle. And it wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. You know, these incredible people had a struggle ahead of them because in order to change the energy of a space, especially one that has such negative association with it, even for our own minds, we really have to do the inner work and work with ourselves to make a decision that the space that we're going to be shifting and changing is going to be something that we're committed to let go of the past and what was there, and to be able to reshape our thinking. Now, the way the Ryans did this was that they actually, as we talked about in the episode, they actually held a baptism in the place where this oubliette and one of probably the most historic murders happened within the castle. And that was a really interesting choice. But that day that they held their baptism, they spoke about how the candles barely flickered despite there being, no panes in the windows and there was a breeze coming in. They spoke about the joy and the laughter that the family was having because they were just having just a magnificent time. And very slowly, day by day, they made these interesting decisions about their life. What do we want for ourselves? What do we want for us? What do we want for our kids? And then living to the new story. So that's what I want to offer to you guys today with this episode. Where in your life has there been areas of damage or trauma, or maybe you're just telling a negative old story about what's going on in your experience? What decisions can you make today that will change the narrative going into a new space, going into an old space, going into a new career, a new job, a new relationship, even a new interaction with an old person that maybe you haven't had such a good history with? What can you do? And so oftentimes when we're going into these situations, we kind of just sit and wait for the next thing to jump out at us so we can react to it. But that's really not how this stuff works. And that's not what the universe is responding to. We get to choose. There is always a choice. We might not be able to choose the event that's going on, but we always get to choose how we respond to the story we tell about it. So that's what I want to offer you guys today. Spiritual healthcare. is to examine that for yourself. Take a page out of the Book of the Ryans and of Lep Castle. And if hundreds of years of horrors and trauma and torture can be turned around by one family, then it can be turned around for you too. So that being said, go download the episode if you haven't already. Please subscribe to Supernatural Circumstances. You can get it wherever you podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. You can go to supernaturalcircumstances.com for more information on the show. And we will see you very, very soon. The next episode. Stay curious, friends.